The stage is set for UFC's grand finale of 2025, and it's closing out an entire era on ESPN. The fight card for UFC on ESPN 73 is now official, marking the last event of both the calendar year and the network partnership that define a generation of UFC broadcasts. Scheduled for December 13th at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, this event brings some heavy fireworks. The main event features a high-stakes flyweight showdown between Royval and Manel Kape, two explosive fighters whose paths have been on a collision course for nearly a year. In the co-main slot, dynamic striker Giga Chikadze faces rising contender Kevin Vallejos, adding another layer of excitement to the night. The main card will air live on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time, while the preliminary bouts start earlier at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, on ESPN Plus. ESPN2 will join the prelims in progress at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time. This headlining bout between Royval and Kape has been twice delayed, stirring plenty of fan anticipation and frustration. Their first scheduled clash was set for UFC Vegas 103 back in March, but Royval was sidelined after suffering multiple concussions during training. The rematch was moved to UFC 317, only for fate to intervene again when Kape was forced to withdraw due to a fractured foot. Now, after months of setbacks, the matchup is finally happening, and both men have something to prove. Royval, known for his aggressive style and resilient spirit, stayed active at UFC 317 despite losing to Joshua Van by unanimous decision. That defeat snapped a two-fight win streak, ending his recent string of victories over Tatsuro Taira and former champion Brandon Moreno. Earlier in his career, Royval even challenged Alexander Pantoja for the flyweight title at UFC 296, taking the fight a full 5 rounds before losing on the judges' scorecards. At age 33, the Factory X standout remains one of the division's most dangerous veterans, hungry to reclaim his place among the elite. Kape, nicknamed Starboy, enters this bout riding a wave of momentum. He's won 6 of his last 7 UFC appearances, and his explosive third-round TKO victory over Asu Omabayev earlier this year showed off both his power and composure. But can he maintain that momentum against a well-rounded and unpredictable opponent like Royval? This is the kind of matchup that sparks debate, one fighter with sharp precision and another with relentless unpredictability. Here's the complete lineup for UFC on ESPN 73. Royval vs Manel Kape. Giga Chikadze vs Kevin Vallejos. Magny vs Yaroslav Amosov. Amanda Lemos vs Gillian Robertson. Nzechukwu vs Marcus Almeida. Joanderson Brito vs Melsik Baghdasaryan. Melquizael Costa vs Morgan Charriere. Cesar Almeida vs Cesare Oleksichak. Sean Sharov vs Stephen Aspland. Luana Santos vs Melissa Croden. Ellen Fry vs Gillian Pett. Jamilyn Hoff vs Teresa Blader. But here's where it gets controversial. Will this event cement Kape's long-awaited rise toward a title shot, or will Royval's experience and ground prowess expose the limits of his game? And as the final UFC event of the ESPN era, is this the symbolic end of a media partnership that shaped modern MMA, or merely the beginning of a new, unpredictable chapter for the sport? What do you think? Is this card strong enough to close out the year and an entire broadcast era with a bang? Share your take. Does the ESPN farewell lineup live up to the hype or fall short of UFC's history-making potential?